make sure that no one is at the back. Okay. Good morning, everyone. It's 6:30 a.m., so still quite early. Not a lot of people on the road. Today, I'm doing a review of my 2019 Kymco Xciting s400i. I got this bike late last year, so it's been with me now for a little under 6 months. Unfortunately, because of the COVID-19 situation, I've really only ridden it about half the time. But regardless, I've had a little over 1,000 kilometers on this bike, so I think it's enough for me to give you guys a picture of what it's like owning one. So I'm gonna go through my top 5 likes and dislikes, and maybe a couple of runner-ups along the way. First, just wanted to say hello to the Biker Box people, Nika, for helping me with the release of the motorcycle, and thank you to Mark for helping me get the bike sooner rather than later. The other dealer was just taking too long, plus just a lot of nonsense, but Biker Box was very easy to talk to. Mark was very easy to talk to, so I got this bike much earlier than anticipated. Before we start, I do want to give a disclaimer. I've not really had a whole lot of scooter experience. This is my third scooter. The first one that I had was a Vespa s400i, I think is the model. The second scooter that I had was a PCX 150, a Honda. In fact, I actually still have it, and that scooter actually kind of made me decide on getting a bigger scooter because I wanted to go, farther away, and just having a bigger scooter I felt was going to be more comfortable. And then my third scooter is this one, the Kymco. So yeah, not a whole lot of experience with scooters. I have over 15 years of experience with motorcycles, but not really with scooters. So that's the first one. The second one is I'm just going to focus my likes and dislikes. They're going to focus really on the experience of owning the bike itself. It's not going to talk about things that you already know about, like the looks. I really like the looks. I think a lot of people like the looks, and the spec sheet. I'm not going to go through those things because there's a lot of material already out there on the internet. So yeah, without further ado, let's start with my top 5 likes. And the first one is handling. I'm going to touch on 3 things: handling at high speed, handling at low speed, and handling around corners. So let's start with handling around corners. So as you can see, the bike absolutely has no issues going around corners. The grunt, if that's the right word for it, of the 400cc makes it so much easier to go around corners, so much funner to go around corners. The PCX does it really well as well. However, obviously because of the 150, it's a bit limited because you can't really just accelerate out of the apex. This bike doesn't really have that much problem. Plus, the steering is quite stable. Obviously, it has a longer wheelbase, so while it takes a lot more effort to steer it into the turn than the 150, than the PCX, it's a lot more stable. So I feel a little bit more secure when leaning into corners on this bike. Obviously, the bigger tires help because the contact patch is bigger, and the bumps are not as pronounced because the wheels are also bigger than the PCX. All right, so high-speed handling, I think that's a given. It's a much bigger bike. It's 400cc, so I think handling at high speeds in a straight line, it's to be expected that this bike is a lot more stable than the smaller 150 than the PCX. So I really like the fact that I can go, 140 kilometers per hour and not have to be so concerned that the bike's going to fall apart. This bike can easily handle 140. I've not tried faster than that, but I think it can still go maybe 150. But yeah, no issues at all with straight line high-speed handling. Now, in terms of low-speed handling, this bike has really surprised me. For some reason, I was thinking that the PCX, being the much smaller bike, was going to be a whole lot easier to, I guess, maneuver in slow speed. But the reverse is actually true. Well, obviously the smaller one, the PCX, is going to zip in and out of traffic easier. However, where the gap is enough for the Xciting to go through, it's a lot more stable than the PCX. I find that I don't have to put my foot down as much as I do on the PCX. I can't explain it. It's probably, again, physics, bigger tires, heavier weight, probably lower center of gravity. I guess all of those things combined to make it easier for me to navigate through slow-moving traffic. So yeah, that's number one. Number two is the turn signal sound. I don't understand why not a lot more motorcycles actually have that sound, or maybe not a whole lot of scooters have that sound. At least the two scooters that I had, no sound at all. Right? So what tends to happen is you activate the turn signal and you kind of forget that it's activated, so you just go your merry way. Then later you look down at your dash and then you find that your turn signals are on. That doesn't happen here with the Xciting because of that sound. It's loud enough that you can hear it through your helmet. The one thing I guess is when you're going high speed, you don't hear it because it's all you're hearing is the wind noise. But in city driving, the turn signals are a blessing. All right, that's number two. Number three, the handbrake. Here is another very practical feature of this motorcycle, and I don't understand why not many more motorcycles or scooters have it. Look, for motorcycles that have gears, and maybe you don't need it because if you need if you're in a toll booth, for example, and the road is at an incline, then you don't really need it because you just shift your gear to first, and you turn the engine off, and you're holding steady. But for scooters, when there's no gear, it's a whole different experience. So here, when you get to the same toll booth, all you need to do is activate the handbrake. You don't need to turn the engine off, and yeah, you can go through your bag. If you need to get the money from your belt bag or whatever, no problem at all because of the handbrake. All right, that's number three. Number four, the lockable storage up front. There are two storage bins on this bike at the front, and I'm so happy that they're lockable. It's not the case with my PCX, and I can't remember. I think the Vespa might have had it, and it might have been lockable, but it's with a key. This one, it's all electronic. As soon as you lock the steering wheel, the handlebar, and it locks everything. So yeah, that's another really good feature that I love about this bike. And number five, the headlight flashers. I am so happy about headlight flashers because it's so convenient. All of my motorcycles have this feature, but I missed it when I had my PCX. I was using my PCX. No flashers. You have to do it manually, bright and low beam. Here, you don't need to go to low beam or to high beam and low beam. You just activate the flashers, and yeah, and then there you have it. It's so very convenient. So those are the five things that I really like about the bike. There are others, of course, and I'll give you one honorable mention. But aside from that, there's others, but we're not going to go through them. And that honorable mention is the adjustable windshield. You really notice the difference between the up and down position. And especially in the morning when bugs are everywhere and you're on the highway, the windshield in the high position just helps avoid those bug spatters on your face shield. So yeah, those are the top 5 plus one honorable mention. Okay, so we're nearing our stop over here. So I'll continue with the top 5 dislikes in a few. Alright, so did a quick stop there, took some pictures for the Instagram feed, and now we're back to the review. Now let's move on to the top 3 dislikes. And we're starting with number 1. The vibration on the bike. It's almost like a V-twin. If you saw my review of the V85 DT, the Moto Guzzi, it's very similar to that. The vibration is very noticeable, especially when you start it in the morning. Now, when I mentioned that the windshield is an honorable mention, it's an honorable mention because of one very annoying thing. When you start the bike and the vibration starts to hit, and when the windshield is in the up position, man, that thing vibrates, and you not only see it, you hear it. There's a buzzing sound, I guess because of, I don't know, there's a buzzing sound on the windshield and the mounting spots, just because the vibration is so pronounced. So yeah, that's number 1. Number 2, front brakes. I was very surprised because the front brakes on the bike, they're not as strong as I feel they should be. So if I want to stop really quickly, I need to use 2 fingers, and to support that, I need to use the rear brakes. Now, I don't know if that's a feature, or if that's something that's inherent or innate to scooters, but it doesn't happen on my PCX. So I don't know, maybe it's the pads, or maybe it just hasn't settled in, but I don't know, 1,000 kilometers should have settled in by now. Not a problem on my PCX at all. The brakes on the bike, I've never had any issues with using one finger for stopping. So yeah, that is my second dislike. Alright, let's go to my third. It's quite annoying. I'm a gadget freak, and this bike just does not have any mounting places for your gadgets. Now, I understand that the bike can be connected via Bluetooth to your phone, but just for my own convenience, I still want to have my phone mounted somewhere in the cockpit or around the cockpit. Also, I like to vlog my rides, and so I like mounting my cameras somewhere within the cockpit, but that's just not possible. You can argue that you can mount them on the side mirror stalks, but it's not an optimal solution because look at the stalks, right? They're not because of the way they're shaped, and not really optimal solution for mounting cameras right there. My fourth one, the seat material. When I dismount from the bike after a few minutes of riding it, and you look at the seat, you can actually see the creases created from the compressed foam. It's really unpleasant to the eye. So yeah, I've not really experienced that with the PCX, nor the Vespa, nor my other motorcycles. It's just something that is not visually pleasing. I don't know if that's a thing that's just on my motorcycle, or if it's a common thing with Kymco's or with Xciting. So please, if anyone's experiencing the same issue, please let me know in the comments. I don't know how to fix it, but yeah, it's just visually annoying. Number 5, the handling, or the really good handling around corners like where I am right now. It's the suspension really helps it corner a lot better because it's stiff. And that stiffness is the number 5 things that I dislike about the bike. It's not every day that I go through these kinds of beautiful roads. For those of you that are familiar with Manila, our roads, they're paved, but then I don't know what happened with the engineering or the materials used, but they're cemented or asphalt, but they're just really bumpy. And so the stiff suspension doesn't help when you're riding this bike, on daily errands or, just city traffic. But like I said, it is a sporty scooter, and I think that's how it's tuned. So it's really not as bad of a dislike. It's just something that's not really that's something that I dislike. But I understand why that's the case. Those are my top 5 dislikes. I have one honorable mention, and that is the legroom. Interestingly enough, my PCX is a lot more comfortable than the Xciting. Not to say that the Xciting isn't comfortable at all, because it is a comfortable bike, but I guess it's similar to riding a sport bike and riding a standard bike. The distance from the seat to the floorboard, just visually looking at it, it's shorter, and so your knees are bent slightly more on the Xciting than on the PCX. That's the first one. And then the second one, the fore and aft distance, when you push your foot forward, even if you put it on the angled floorboards, it's still not as spacious as the PCX. So again, it's an honorable mention because I understand why that's not the case, because of the sporty nature of the bike. I'm just saying that it's not as comfortable as my PCX. So that's my top 10, I guess, top 5 likes, top 5 dislikes, and a couple of honorable mentions. Let me know what has been your experience for the Xciting S400i owners out there in the comments below. Thanks, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.